Every society has a center. It is the hub where resources concentrate, where opportunities flow freely, and where structural power resides. But millions of people live on the fringes. They didn't drift away by choice. They are forced out by a systemic process called marginalisation. In India, this mechanism affects Adivasis, Dalits, religious minorities, and women, groups who are structurally blocked from reaching that thriving center. These communities frequently demand the same security and inclusion enjoyed by those at the center, highlighting the barriers they face every day. Failing to recognize how these groups are pushed to the edges makes it impossible to address the structural inequality that results. To stop this destructive process, we have to look closely at how the machinery of marginalization actually works. Marginalization begins invisibly, as a set of mental models, before it ever manifests as physical exclusion. It starts with stereotypes, fixed, oversimplified ideas that individuals hold about an entire group of people. When combined with prejudice, judging someone negatively without knowing them, these thoughts form a barrier that blocks the path to inclusion. These assumptions fuel the engine of exclusion, providing the internal justification for why certain groups are treated as lesser. Those individual mental barriers are the direct inputs that create visible injustice across an entire society. We see the physical reality of this in the Adivasis, India's original forest inhabitants. For these communities, the forest provides everything: their food, their shelter, and the very foundation of their cultural identity. When industrial development claims these lands, it results in the forced loss of ancestral territory, tearing through the roots of their society. This displacement shifts families from a self-sufficient life in the forest to a struggle for survival in dry, barren terrain. Stripped of their land, many Adivasis are forced into the lowest tier of the economy, performing heavy manual labor, like breaking rocks for industry, for very little pay. This physical removal from their ancestral land results in a broader shift, moving these communities from the economic center to the literal and social fringes of the country. Once a community is pushed to the edge, they enter an unbreakable loop. They are cut off from the basic resources needed to return to the center. Lack of access to formal education traps the next generation. When children are seated on the ground in poorly resourced classrooms, they are anchored to the fringes before they even start. This exclusion extends to survival. Inadequate healthcare facilities mean that those on the edge often lack the medical care required for basic safety. These combined deficits lead to crowded streets and makeshift homes, which become the visual markers of life on the social fringes. In this cycle, economic poverty functions as both the primary driver of exclusion and its final, tangible result. Systematic exclusion fractures the democratic ideal of a fair nation, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond the communities on the edge. Recognizing all of these mechanics is the first action required to begin dissolving these barriers and dismantling systemic inequality. Achieving social justice demands a collective, conscious effort to stop the engine of marginalization. True equality requires us to stop pushing people to the edges and instead expand the center until the edge no longer exists.